So 12 drivers lining up for this, and here is how it all breaks down. They had a qualifying session earlier on today which determined the grid for this race. As I said, this race is going to determine the grid for the grand final. Jose Serrano in the Aston Martin DB3 on pole position, with Kylian Drumont in the Porsche alongside. Samuel Moreno, the newcomer, third on the grid for the Spaniard, with Takuma Miyazono nipping at his heels. Next up, you've got Ryota Kokubun returning after a sabbatical. He lines up P5 with Lucas Benelli in the Mercedes 300 SL, the Gullwing in P6. Hometown favourite Valerio Gallo, to the roar of the crowd here, has got Pol Euro for company in the Alfa Romeo alongside him. Then it's Kai de Bruin in the Jaguar D-Type in 9th position, with Samuel Cardinal completing the top 10. Guy Barbara lines up P11 for the Australian nationality, and then Adriano Carrazza completes the grid in P12.
Did I see that Gallo had his luggage with him there in the back of the car there, just to make sure he had something to eat when he got around? Interesting.
Yeah, this is going to be exciting to see how it all breaks down. So it's a 10-lapper here. It's a rolling start for the drivers as well, which should spread the field out relatively evenly down towards that first corner, which will be quite handy because I imagine it's going to be a big difference in stopping distance compared to the Red Bull X 2019s, of which they qualified.
Yeah, there's a lot of different weights and powers here. Some cars absolutely rapid in a straight line, some very light as well. So we're going to see a real mix down towards T1, and I have no idea which way this is going to go. That's why Nations Cup is so much fun.
Absolutely. Well, there is Kylian Drumont as he just takes a breath, as well as Valerio Gallo, the hometown hero, with so much pressure on his shoulders, lining up P7 on the grid here. An opportunity for him to move forward and secure a good grid slot ahead of the grand final in the Nations Cup. But who wins this one then, as we get ready to go racing? The sprint race here at the Sardinia road course is underway, with Serrano leading the field across the line, followed by Kylian Drumont, who slipstreams his way into the lead already as we come in towards the first corner. Keep an eye out for Moreno as well, who's looking to his outside. Miyazono there on the inside in 4th position as well. So it's Drumont that leads, Serrano into 2nd, Moreno into 3rd, Miyazono and Kokubun trying to squabble for places, as well as Pol Euro making some ground. He's up 2 from 8th on the grid into P6 at the exit of turn 2.
Here comes Moreno up the inside maybe of Serrano, going into the middle part of the circuit now, side by side the Ferrari and the DB3, just about keeping them out the door of each other. I'm just hoping they don't hit each other here. I mean, I know of course these cars are virtual, but there's something in me which says, man, there's a lot of money on this grid right now, as you watch Moreno just about stay ahead of Serrano. Drumont though in that 550 Spider, a lot of pace in that thing, very quick in the straight line, very light, and maybe that was the car of choice around here.
Yeah, the drivers who qualified higher up the order got first pick basically at the cars for this one. So if you, for example, if you were Jose Serrano, you got first pick, and second for Kylian Drumont, etc. So that's the way that he's gone with it. Drumont it is that still leads by 0.3 of a second. Battle for P2 though very much underway, because you've got Moreno side by side here with his compatriot Jose Serrano. Miyazono's keeping a watching brief. Drumont's deep though into the left-hander. That's opened the door for Moreno to walk through it and take the front of the race over from the Frenchman.
A little bit of contact there between the two of them, but that's just racing around here. Of course, these cars move around quite a lot in the braking zone, so it's quite hard really to predict where they're going to be at each particular point. But what a sight that is! All different manners of shapes and sizes working their way through the S's. Now to one of the heavy braking zones here. These cars really lazy on the brake pad. We've got to give it a lot of time. You see Moreno going a bit wide, Drumont going a bit wide, Serrano was up the inside there in the Aston Martin. We get a great view alongside on board the 356 with Takuma Miyazono, of course, someone who's won this Nations Cup outright before. He's been pretty much every position on the podium as well, so he knows how to win a race here. In the background's Gallo there, making a mistake, touching the wall there in the Mercedes and just slowing himself down the straight. You see, even these little kinks are quite considerable corners of these cars.
And look at what it's done to him. It's left him right under pressure from the likes of Ryota Kokubun and the prevailing field as well. They're about 1 million wide down this start-finish rate. Gallo's got the inside line, but he's going to drop 3, maybe even 4 places here as he's down to P10. He was 7th before he made that mistake across the line. So it's all changing at the sharp end of the race as well, because Takuma Miyazono it is that now leads from Samuel Moreno. How did that happen?
I think we're too busy watching Gallo there having his incident, and Miyazono took advantage off camera, and up he goes there in that very pretty little Porsche. So up to first base goes Miyazono from Moreno from Euro. Where's Serrano? Serrano is down in 9th position, so something must happen there to Tony Serrano.
Yeah, you'd imagine there must have been a bit of contact, which just sent the Spaniard tumbling down the order, which is not great at all. Let's wait and see what happens. Yeah, Dumont and Serrano under investigation for a collision, so you wonder whether one of them has outbraked themselves and nerfed into the side of the other. We'll wait and see what happens. I'm sure we're going to replay, especially if any penalties are awarded. Either way, at the sharp end, it's Miyazono now from Moreno and Pole. What happened here between Dumont then and Serrano? So they split Moreno down into turn one. Dumont on the inside. Serrano there as well, and they just there was a bit of contact on the exit of the corner. So Dumont dropped down and Serrano also losing out in the process.
Yeah, very tricky there. I think they just got caught out by the lack of straight line speed there from that 550. Sorry, no, it was Moreno, from the Ferrari. So they just ended up going each side of each other. But meanwhile, Miyazono leading from Jura and from Moreno. Two Spaniards hounding this car. This is where we're going to see a difference in the straight line speeds here. Gallo, interesting, he's made his way back up to fifth in his incident on the first lap. Here's on board to give Miyazono how he went from fourth to first in one corner. So we're going to get down on T1. Moreno just slows down that car, runs out of acceleration. They'll have their accident, and Miyazono goes, well, thank you very much, mate. I'll take that. Up to lead I go.
Problem with Serrano there is he's on the outside, and you're always leaving yourself vulnerable to situations like that. De Bruyne's picked up a penalty for a collision there as well. He's in P4 as it stands, but will drop down the order, you would imagine. Top three looking to try and break away in all the chaos that's unfolding. We begin lap 3 with Miyazono still in front from Moreno and Jura. So good starts to the race then, as we said, for Moreno, and also for Pole Jura, as well as now Kai De Bruyne. De Bruyne, though, as we said, with that penalty, he's going to surely drop down into the coattails of Valerio Gallo, who, let's not forget, a couple of laps ago was 10th across the line after he lost out following that mistake, and he's now managed to get his way up into P5 with a nice comfortable cushion over Serrano behind.
Yeah, I mean, of the front-running cars, you wouldn't put really Gallo in that Mercedes in the same bracket, would you? It's a big old thing, but it seems to be running well in fifth position. Miyazono still leading this train up front. And I do enjoy these races where we see the different cars and different strengths and weaknesses. It's very Gran Turismo for me. It's what the game's all about. As watching Moreno now maybe make a move on Miyazono. We know that Ferrari runs that off top end speed a little bit as we get up to the braking zone. Miyazono managing to hold him on the outside now, and you see pulling back fast, and that's going to be a bit of a difficult for Moreno, but he's got the brakes. Up the inside he goes, and up into the lead goes Moreno. So you're seeing the differences there. Moreno's car much better on the brakes in the corner, and Miyazono having that straight line speed advantage, but we'll hardly have to wonder which is a better one to have.
Right, let's have a look here at Kylian Dumont, who's attacking against Guy Barber and Jose Serrano. Oh, more contact there down to turn one. He's way too late on the brakes and biffs it into the back of Adriano Corazza. Barber then gets into the side of it. The C's part for the Spaniard as Serrano goes through on the inside, and Dumont just looking like he forgot the pedal. Phenomenal.
Oh, sorry. I mean, I've made that face a million times. I'm like, oh, oopsie. It happens. Like, this is what I was saying about the brake pedal. Like, it's the braking distance are so much longer in these older cars. It can catch you out. It really can, especially when some of these cars are better than others. And we're seeing now Miyazono absolutely rocketing by Moreno as he's just stuck there in the fifth gear. Nothing else he can do. No more top end speed. But on the brakes, he's right back there again. And so is Pole Jura there, up on the inside. Pole Jura in the 8C Touring, and man, doing it in style is Pole Jura.
I love seeing Pole Jura coming through on the inside. He looks like he's an LA gangster or something in that blacked out machine as he scythed his way through on the inside. Said hello, there we are. Gets the position on his compatriot and is through for second position as well. Look at the top three. They've managed to build up 3.5 seconds over the prevailing field. De Bruyne and Gallo are the next targets, and they're a fair chunk down the road. This is good for Valerio Gallo and possibly his grid position for the grand final. He's now all over the back of De Bruyne, who's just served that penalty following the contact that we saw.
Watch this straight line speed of this Mercedes compared to the D-Type in front of me. Bear in mind, it's about 20 years between them in terms of age, but Gallo there just showing, well, here we go, choo-choo, thank you very much, mate, off I go, I've got another 20 or 30 horsepower on you. It's only got 4 gears though, I think. No, there's got, I thought he only had 4 gears there. That's over 200 kph in something from the 20s. Not something I like to do, and then trying to outbrake a D-Type into the braking zone. Big shout from the crowd there as Gallo gets it done up into 4th position. So he'd be a bit upset, I think, Gallo, because that first group has broken away, and I think realistically, unless he has a really good run now, he's going to struggle to catch him. And Serrano also recovering in the background there. But 4th place isn't a bad start.
No, second row of the grid for Valerio Gallo at the moment as Kylian Dumont picks up a penalty for that collision that we saw a couple of laps ago. Meanwhile, all change at the front then as Pole Jura is through. for the race lead on Takuma Miyazono. So again, this story continues changing. And let's see whether we're going to get a breakaway here, because Pol Euro trying to build out a gap. What he'd love is Moreno and Miyazono to start fighting. But the straight line speed of the car that Ura's in there looking pretty handy as it stands for now.
It does, but Miyazono also in that Porsche, again, very, very quick down the straights is that little mini Porsche there. So up the inside, outside I should say, goes Miyazono in the 3.56, going to have a little look. Oh, there goes Moreno too. So yeah, there really is a top end for these cars. I mean, they run into the limiter in a certain gear. It's so interesting to see as Gallo has to defend from De Bruin there in the background, just about doing so, I think. But Miyazono, Moreno and Ura covered by only 4/10 of a second right now, and seemingly no one blinking. On board with Pol Ura. Look at this beautiful interior in this thing, man. The craftsmanship in here. All of that being thoroughly ignored right now, while Pol Ura just wrings the neck out of it, which is exactly what you want to see in these races.
Just to give you an idea, by the way, of getting these cars into Gran Turismo, it's very much an expedited process. It takes an awfully long time. There's thousands, tens of thousands of photographs that have to be taken of each individual car. That's not including, of course, sourcing those cars in the first place. Then, of course, it's going to be scanned in the game, and it takes such a long time, so the level of detail is absolutely phenomenal. Meanwhile, Moreno, not worried about the detail of the interior of his car. He is worried about the race lead, though, as he goes through on Miyazono once more, uses the advantage there of the slipstream, so that's good news for him. But I think it's going to leave him vulnerable again coming onto this next straight, isn't it? That's the problem with that Ferrari. So he's got to make up time on the brakes, but the question remains, if we get to the latter half of it, and when we go through to those final couple of laps, is he going to be in a position to attack for that race lead, or is he just going to run out of puff?
I don't really know. I mean, we've seen that the Moreno, I think he just gets past the start-finish line and the car starts to give up a little bit. So Miyazono's got to be close and have a good move. So because the Ferrari's good here, out of the corners. He's got really good punch out the corner. It's light, it's nimble. But about now to get into fourth gear, the Porsche, which is also light, pretty powerful as well for what it is, starts to reel it back in, plus the draft as well. So let's get a little dress rehearsal. It's pretend it's the last lap. The start-finish line's onto that little gantry there. Would Miyazono make it? No, not quite. So that's good for Miyazono to know. Like, I need to be closer than that on the last lap if I want to win this race. So those little moves like that, it's all part of the game.
Guy Barbara's having a good one as well. He's up into 7th position from near enough last on the grid. He was P11 where he started, so he's worked out quite nicely for the Australian driver. You see Samuel Moreno's pre-race ritual, taking a full nap and waking up just 20 minutes before qualifying. That's the Kimi Raikkonen strategy.
Well, it's working so far. He's fighting for the lead here in one of the most prestigious sim racing events in the world. So you can't argue with that, can you really? I mean, here's Miyazono, Moreno and Ura all on your screen there. You're seeing the picture-in-picture of Serrano working his way back up from 6th. He is catching Gallo, I think, but not by enough at the moment. Actually, at the moment, fast person on track is Moreno, the only man to go into the 159s. So a lot of pace up front right now.
On board here we are then with Valerio Gallo. All on the outside there, De Bruin directly in front of him. This is where we know that Mercedes is quite strong, and it might leave De Bruin vulnerable here to an attack from the Italian driver. The crowd are going to absolutely love this as he sends his way to the inside. Over the crest of the hill we go, into the braking zone. Gallo is through for now on Kai De Bruin, but is De Bruin going to be able to use the nimbleness, the agility of that Jaguar to try and launch the attack? Look at how much better it is mid-corner in particular. Just can get that car rotated and turned so much tighter.
What do you expect? You can fit one of those in Gallo's car. Like, it's a huge difference there. In fact, I was surprised Gallo got out of the way if he could even see him going down the straight there. Here is Kai De Bruin. Here's his POV. All he can see is Gallo's luggage there. Wonder what he's got in there. That's maybe a question for the live chat. Have fun with that, moderators. So Kai De Bruin trying the outside line there, but Gallo just parking it. You don't want to be there. There's a barrier waiting to collect you on the outside there. And yeah, I mean, Gallo doesn't really have a choice but to park it, to be honest. That thing's so heavy. Yeah,
it's interesting to see the different peaks and troughs. It's like watching a good revival race this, where you've got certain cars that are quicker in the corners, others which are quicker in the straights. And you can see visibly how much the advantage is there for Valerio Gallo as he just pulls away with ease from Kai De Bruin. This is Guy Barbara in P7 at the moment. Cockerman and Benelli close behind on these battles on the fringes, sort of on the top 10. Cockerman looking to try an attack here on Guy Barbara. Just gets out of the throttle, goes for the outside line on the curb. We know that's brave. Can he make it stick though as they run side by side with each other? So the Mercedes there on the outside. Barbara has the inside, which is going to flick back to the inside line there for Cockerman. But Barbara's not giving this one up. He's still parking his car very much in the places where Cockerman would like to. Down the back straight we go, into the left-hander. under. Barbara manages to hold off the charge for now, but it could open the door possibly for Lucas Benelli behind if they keep squabbling here.
Kokeman's going to get it. He's been there side by side the entire time there, just trying to set himself up. But now, of course, he's on the outside for the next corner. There's Benelli there as well as we come in. Next corner's the left-hander. Guy Barbara just alongside enough to maybe keep the move. And Kokeman, can he? No, he can't. And now running side by side. And Benelli behind's loving us. He's right there now in that Mercedes. And they've got their straight line speed. They're going to shove their way past Guy Barbara. And Kokeman up to 7. Will Benelli be able to maybe run Kokeman as well in a straight line in the draft as well? These guys side by side at 200 kph. Braking zone coming up to the left-hander. Barbara's got the advantage. He's going to try and split the two of them. Benelli's looking at the outside. That's not going to work, mate. And Kokeman finally is clear of Guy Barbara. And that all started at T1, putting the car around the outside. Beautiful racing from these guys.
Superb, absolutely superb. Some of the cleanest battles we've ever seen in the GT World Series in some of the hardest cars to handle. Kokeman into 7th place there, but Barbara not ready to give this one up. He's surely going to launch an retaliation if he can. Down the back straight, not going to be close enough for a move on the inside as it stands for now, but Benelli there ready for the taking as well. But keep an eye out for the likes of Samuel Cardinal actually there in the background. He's not too far adrift at this one. Meanwhile, part 3 with Kai de Bruyne versus Valerio Gallo. De Bruyne managed to get ahead then of the Mercedes driver. So the Jaguar now going to come under threat, and surely Gallo is going to just absolutely fire his way through as we come down into T1 with the straight line speed. But no, not quite for now. De Bruyne holds it off, uses the weight advantage, gets into 4th position in front of the Italian driver.
Imagine being in that D-type, looking in your mirror and seeing that behind it down the straight. I would just be terrified. I mean, the size difference is almost comical, but watching also Valerio handle that thing, hustle it through these corners is a sight to behold for sure. So Gallo there in the Mercedes in front of them, Kai de Bruyne in the D-type with that little fin on the end there. Basically used to stabilise the car at high speed. Very cool to see that these cars being raced in this way. And this is where we see the Mercedes have its advantage. The D-type is pretty quick, but on the straight line speed, the raw engine capacity of this Mercedes-Benz just gives it a bit more oomph. And here we go then, to the outside goes Gallo once again. This battle's been going on for the entire race. And he just tries to drive around the outside. Now will Kai de Bruyne try and brake late here and keep the place? He does. They're alongside here, and Gallo's really got no option but to just give it to him at this point. He hasn't got that cornering agility.
Yeah, just can't get the car stopped. It's heavier on the brakes there, and obviously the brakes just clearly nowhere near as effective as Kai de Bruyne, but the punch and the power out of the corner there for Valerio Gallo just allows him to get greater speed, and he just goes through on Kai de Bruyne like the Dutchman was standing still. Meanwhile, sharp end of this race, Miyazono, Moreno and Ura, we've not mentioned them for a few laps. They're still separated by a couple of tenths of a second. I'm sure we'll pick that up over the last couple, but Gallo into 4th place for now. Sure, we've not seen the last of it though.
Man, look at these two. You couldn't have 2 more different cars fighting each other, and that is just, for me, the joy of Gran Turismo. You see both of them have a bit of a smile on their face there. He's like, whatever, nothing I can do here. That's just part of it. That's part of having these different cars in these Nations Cup event. Every session matters. The qualifying session to pick these cars matters. This session matters. Of course, the grand final dictates everything else. And there goes Kai de Bruyne, past Gallo again, and on board there, about 5.5 metres of bonnet or hood in front of you there, and a nice big aiming reticle with the Mercedes AMG 3 stars there.
Yeah, you got him quite literally in his sights. Meanwhile, sharp end of this one, Moreno now in front from Miyazono, so it's 2 Spaniards with a Japanese driver in the middle of that sandwich. Through the left, through the right, they've been nose to tail for the last few laps of these drivers, and you would imagine that it's going to start to kick off before too long. Ura there has a bit of a look to the outside of Miyazono, who goes for the sort of shallower inside line down the back straight, but then ducks over to the more traditional racing line. This race, just to remind you, determines the grid position for the grand final in the Nations Cup, which will be along the way in the not too distant future. Under the bridge we go though. Is Ura going to think about launching an attack here on Takuma Miyazono? He pulls alongside the Porsche driver, just backs down of the throttle, gets out of the slipstream. Of course, Miyazono has got that hole in the air being punched in front of him by Moreno's Ferrari as well. And it's as you were as we come into the braking zone, or is it? Because Ura finds a gap on the inside. Miyazono pushes the curb on the outside there, and Ura tried to launch something on the exit of the corner, but the circuit there, as you can see, just jinks right, and he runs out of room to do it.
Man, that Alpha there in 3rd place giving me solid Mr. Burns vibes. It's so cool to watch, but I have to think they're just waiting. this point. And they're just waiting, because I think Miyazano knows that if he's close enough here, he can win the race just from here, just by hitting the gas. And Pole Euro, same sort of thing. That Ferrari isn't the quickest, but they've given themselves an 8 tenths buffer to Moreno in front now, so they've got to be careful with it. They can't fight too hard, otherwise Moreno is just going to get away with it. And we know that Ferrari in front is good for the twisties. Here is Miyazano, here is Pole Euro. Let's see how close they get down towards T1, and whether Moreno can build a gap or not.
So, on to the last lap we go. I wonder if there might be a bit of tactical gamesmanship here from these drivers, as Miyazano then goes for the outside line here on Samuel Moreno. Euro there on the inside. Gap has appeared for the Spaniard. Moreno off nearly to the curb on the outside. It's as you were between these top three. But of course, we're going into Monza, let's not forget. It's a slipstream race, and I wonder if the option might actually be to start from second position, so you've got the run going out of the first chicane. Not that these drivers are going to be worrying too much about that. I think they're having too much fun at the moment. Moreno still leads as we come through to the right-hander.
Well, what's happening now is that basically, I mean, you see Moreno's parents there watching on quite nervously, is they're all, Miyazano and Euro are both fighting for the right to have a go at Moreno on that last corner, so they both want to be ahead of each other. They've got to be careful here, because if they end up knocking each other off the circuit, that gives this win and pole in the final to Moreno. So we've got on board with Pole Euro now. Here's really his last chance to get ahead of Miyazano before the final corner, but here's where that Porsche starts pulling, and here's where that Ferrari starts lacking. You see Miyazano opting to actually slow down there. Moreno goes defensive. Will Euro go around the outside of all of them? He's going to try and do it, but I don't think he's going to make it. Miyazano and Euro side by side. Pole Euro, he does make it around. He's got the ideal line here, but they're 2 by 2. Oh my word, Tom, and Euro is through up into P2.
Phenomenal bit of driving there from Pole Euro as he goes into second position. Next target is his compatriot Samuel Moreno then, so we flick it through to the left-hander. Just one more big braking zone now remaining as we're right on board here with Miyazano, who fancies another attack against Pole Euro. Don't know if they're going to be close enough to lunge up the inside of Moreno. Euro has a half look, but Moreno's got the line covered off. It's now going to be a run to the line here in the sprint race to determine the grid for the grand final. Moreno, Euro and Miyazano is your order as they exit through the final corner. Out of the right-handed kick we're about to go, and we're going to blast to the timing line here. Will it be Moreno, will it be Euro, or will it be Miyazano who takes the checkered flag? It's out and waving, and which of these drivers will come across the line? It's Samuel Moreno who takes his first ever win in the Gran Turismo World Series on his debut, ahead of his compatriot Pole Euro, and Takuma Miyazano rounds off the podium in third, ahead of the hometown favourite Valerio Gallo in Milan, in P4 on the grid for the grand final.
Yeah, Gallo narrowly beating Kaiser Broadside. In the background there, it's 3 wide for 8th position. Guy Barbara just taking it there from Benelli and Drummond. So amazing battles up and down the field, but what a mature race there from Moreno.